I was looking forward to know a bit more about Eset and the products they sell.
Well, to gain more knowledge about security, because I think security is absolutely of paramount importance, and therefore you need to find your environment safe. And I think whether it's a big company or a small company, it's exactly the same.
To find out more about the product, because they said there's a new product coming into the market. Find out the server side and the endpoint side.
I expected that I'd come along to find out more about what's currently going on in the security industry. I'm always interested in finding out what's happening, and that was the goal of the day really, was just to find out what's currently going on.
So far, so good. Yes, it's good.
Yes, you do. You do. I know Eset because in the past I've used it. I used their software. I've been very happy with it, and I found the Eset company very professional.
Yes, not all of them, but I mean I've got a gist of what is in background, and in particular the area, the second presenter talked about more about the educations and how to get the employee involved in the security policies and education. That aspect is very, very important.
So far, yes, it's been interesting. I mean, obviously there's been things that I already knew, but there's been some new stuff that's been quite interesting actually. And certainly the message coming across is that people still suffer the same issues that everybody else has, and I think that's coming through strongly.
A bit of both. We are basically a small software house. We specialize in e-commerce. I received an email to become a reseller of Eset, so I thought this was a good opportunity for me to come and have a look at the product, look at the company. So my interest is from that point of view.
It's professional as well as personal, because at the moment we are a small company, but we would like to expand. And security in general, it's a very important issue, especially with all the multimedia that nowadays you have to use.
Professional, secure, what I call the back end, the servers, and the front end, especially the PCI.
Mix of both actually. I find it an extremely interesting industry to be involved in. It certainly seems to be an industry at the moment. And it's certainly an industry that's moving forward and progressing as technology is. So, I think both. Obviously, business because that's the industry I'm in. Personally, because I love doing research into what's going on and finding out what's currently happening.
Yes, I did actually. It was quite informative. Although I did hear about the Sony incident, but I didn't follow it through, and he gave a good rundown on the basis.
Quite concise. He went on obviously to explain a lot of the media to do with the social media and the journalism point of view. But he also made the right point at the end, which is basically to be careful sometime of what you read about safety, because not always is the way it is projected.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a person that said, okay, yeah, this is the group that did it, so nobody knows.
Yes, very much so. It's always interesting to find out how a specific attack is undertaken. Whether we learn who's actually undertaking it, I still don't think so, but I'm sure we'll find out at some stage who's behind it.
The lessons, he said, the lessons learned. Have a good plan. Should the disaster strike, have a good plan. Use the media, social media properly.
The notion of the state-sponsored threat actors now, I think, information security has always been a high agenda item, but because the governments are now involved and because of Ed Snowden and that kind of thing coming to the media, people are more aware that it's happened at a higher level now, and I think it's important that people are aware of that.
He was outstanding. I thoroughly enjoyed his presentation.
Very interesting in it. Yes, this is very interesting. I knew some of the things already I was going to say because I went through some security myself and I know a bit about social media and all that. There is always a knife with two blades.
Yeah, that's very detailed, more into my areas of understanding. The first one I would say is more on less of hackers and tracking, and but mine is more in defense. I mean, more in the defensive mode. I'm not in offensive mode. If you're in offensive mode, you will know about the false presenter because you're trying to find out who did what. Whereby the second presenter is saying, how can you secure yourself?
Yeah, and I found it very interesting. That was more what I expected to hear. You know, that's all some of the kind of issues that we all have. And a lot of social networks, the use of two-factor authentication. I think companies have become a lot better at adopting that technology. There are still issues with cost. I still think people see it as a cost overhead, and in some cases they're perhaps willing to accept the risk over cost. But yeah, I found it very interesting and very informative. And again, I picked up snippets of things that were key to what I would need.
His clarity, he knows what he's talking about, and he came across very in a simple way. He was very engaging.
I think what is very important is that his stress is to do with education, and I think the real base has to be on education. People have to be educated, to be a bit careful with social media and not just write anything on it, but to be a bit more cautious.
That's the education part, because I mean the weakest link in any security is human. It is human. That's the major. There is no hardware or software security you can deploy if the human element is weak. That security is not good. So the education, getting people along with you, knowing why this is in place and why it needs to be followed, and the consequences if it's not followed.
Use of social networking is a good one because it's, you know, I was having a conversation a second ago with a guy outside. It's important that we adopt technology, right? I mean, technology is the way forward, and part of that adoption is social networks. You know, they're a great tool for marketing teams, but it's all about adopting the technology but in a controlled way. And I think that's certainly something that came across strong. I think social networks are a good thing to use, basically.